Hi, I'm Wayne and this is Bassador Woodworking. In this video we're going to go over some of the upgrades I've made to this Craftsman 113 floor standing drill press, along with this table, the table lift, and we're also going to go into some shop updates. Alright, so I'm going to be going probably... The thing is actually 12.5 inches deep, so I'll go 13 so I have a little bit of a lip so that I add some clamping surface to the table. And we've got 12 across, so my table will be probably about 13 by 13, which is actually makes it pretty easy. This little piece of 1/2 inch cut off plywood will be kind of perfect. We've got just over 4, so if I cut 2-inch strips, that should be more than adequate. Throughout this video, you probably noticed that there's some fundamental changes to the shop. Main one being that I have a new table saw now. This is a Harvey Alpha HW110 TC36P. It's a 3 horsepower cabinet saw from Harvey. I bought this myself with my own money. Harvey does not even know who I am. I just thought that it was probably about time to jump and buy a more substantial saw, something that will last me the rest of my natural life. So that might raise the question, what happens to the old table saw? And I still have it, it's just on the other side. Now I have dueling table saws. This will be my main saw, mostly because it has safety features. As you can tell, it has a blade guard on it that I am using. Because the only thing stopping me from using a blade guard on the other table saw was that it did not have one. And none was ever manufactured for my specific saw. So now that I have a blade guard and stuff like that, I'm using it. You'll see it in videos. I'll only remove the blade guard when it's absolutely necessary for the cut that I'm using. And a lot of the times, if I'm having to remove the blade guard, it would be for a non-through cut like a dado or something, and I might even just use the Craftsman for that. The Craftsman's not going anywhere. That saw is still my favorite tool of all time. It will be in the shop for as long as I am, or as long as it holds itself together. So right now it's functioning mainly as my outfeed table. You also notice that I had to move stuff around quite a bit in order to make space for this table saw, because it is gigantic and it is very, very heavy. But I'm really happy with it. Once I've had like a year or so of using the saw, I'll do a review on it. There's really no knowledge you'll gain from a 1 month, 2 month table saw review, or even just a unboxing and hey, initial impressions. Tell you nothing. It just tells you how they shipped the saw. I want to know how, when I'm looking at reviews, I want to know how the saw holds up over time. Are there like weird little things that you need to get used to when using the saw and stuff like that? But so far, in the about 5 or so months that I had the saw, I think it's been about 5 months, I've loved it. It's a joy to use. I haven't really had any issues with it. But it's one of those things I'm not going to do a full in-depth review until I've actually done a few dozen projects going through the saw. Okay, now I'm going to just do a rough assembly on the table itself. And so this is going to just be held together with glue and screws, but I'm just tacking in some pin nails to hold it while I set up the other glue joint. Then I will drill and countersink for the screws. Could just also clamp this in place and then drill and screw, but I don't know, pin nails seem easier. One thing I'm checking for is which side has like less voids in the plywood, because this is going to be face up, or what's against the table will be face up. So I want like the reveal to be as nice as possible. For a drill press table, it's not really all that important, but still, if you can make it look nice, try to, I guess. Okay. Okay, that's the basic frame of our table. Snug, that's what we kind of want. Good. It's nice and snug. So this is the downside of like trying to build something without really a concrete plan in mind. Which is how I typically build things, so this is a problem I encounter a lot. I'm trying to figure out how to attach a fence to this so that it's easy to move, but still secure enough that it won't bind and things like that. I'm thinking that these T-bolts and knobs are kind of an ideal solution. It's just a matter of whether I want to put some slots in this so that the T-bolts are just going along a track. That has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it will be very secure. It will lock everything down and things won't move. Downside is that it will bind quite a bit. No matter how parallel my two channels are, if I ever want to, say, lock the fence at an angle, it's going to fight to get to those angles. The other issue that I'll have is if I want to remove the fence altogether for a drilling a hole, I would have to then lift the table off of the drill press table and take the T-bolts out. And if I'm removing pieces from this whole assembly, I'm going to lose those pieces. Also, these T-bolts, you could just as easily use just a wing nut and a carriage bolt. I just happen to have these two just in a drawer. So I'm thinking what I want to do instead is grab a couple of scraps of either some hardwood or even some, like, if I have some 1/8" bar stock, drill a hole for the T-slot to go through so that when this is pulled, it's pulling against the bottom rail here. And I will just shorten this fence, because this fence doesn't need to be all that tall. It just needs to be tall enough for me to clamp a spring clamp to it. So that should be fine. I just need to figure out how tall this fence can be with still giving myself some grab on the wing nuts. Because you also don't want the whole thing within like one turn of coming off, because then it will just always fall off and drop. So I think I have decided on using some bar stock as the under clamp, and then since I'm shortening the fence and I'm going to be drilling through the fence itself from top to bottom, I'm going to use hardwood instead of plywood because I don't want to delaminate the plywood. Each time I tighten down the knobs, it would be applying pressure in the exact orientation that plywood doesn't like pressure applied. So using some hardwood will be better. This is just some cherry that I cut off of an old headboard of a bed. So this should work more than fine. I just need to measure out how long I want this piece to be, cut it off, cut a couple of chunks of this off at the metal cutting bandsaw. First I'll drill the holes for the T-bolts, because drilling sized holes in a small piece of metal is dangerous, because it will just grab and spin. That's where we are. bad for not measuring. They're actually pretty symmetrical.
I use my bench grinder to just knock down any sharp corners and to remove the burr that was left behind by the bandsaw.
Okay, now I just need to kind of figure out where the ends of this thing will be. So like one right there is fine. And then if I put the other thing like there, there is fine. And we'd want a hole about there and a hole about there. Okay, now we can dry fit this whole thing and see how it looks. So that will go like that. Might need to sand this a little bit. It's a nice friction fit, but it's kind of too much of a friction fit. Alright, that's what I was afraid of. Alright, this is why we test fit. Okay, try number 2. I have this all set up already. I did shorten one of the tabs just because I don't think they need to be as long as I made them, but we'll see. So that one just goes like that. That goes like that. Tight. And let's like try set them there, just as a test. Yeah. Nice. All right, so that's simple enough and won't get in the way of things. Another kind of substantial change that I have made in the shop is kind of hard to show on camera because it is the camera stuff, but I have created version 2 of my camera cart. This thing is hopefully exactly what I need to make it more efficient for me to film videos. I've been in the shop constantly doing projects, but it's just been a lot to set up the cameras and everything. So I'm hoping that version 2 of this cart will make it easier. So I have multiple points where I can mount a camera for different types of shots. I have mounting hardware for, I bought a teleprompter so that when I'm doing these tool history videos, it's easier for me to read off my script without me looking like I'm just staring down the barrel of the TV screen instead of the lens, which is a skill set that I do not have, so I'm learning it. But aside from that, I rewired all the audio and everything, so now I'm picking up ambient room audio as well, so that when I forget to turn on my microphone and stuff like that, I'm hopefully still getting quality audio that can be just spliced into the video. And then I've done a whole bunch of work on evening out the light in here. I built these light panels out of some recessed lighting and just mounted them up to replace a lot of these like random Harbor Freight LED strip lights. They don't, even though they say that they're 5,000 K lumen, they don't really appear to be. So these ones seem to be better and more even. And as I move forward, I'll start kind of standardizing a lot of that stuff. But it's just trying to, up the production quality while still kind of staying true to the fact that, like, I'm not a professional at this. I'm not trying to be a professional at this. This is never going to be my full-time thing. I'm very happy with my actual career. So this is strictly a creative outlet and hobby. That being said, I have also revamped a lot of the merch that is available for the channel. That basically, any money I make off of merch, which I think is a total of $40 so far, has just gone towards sandpaper. It just funds supplies for the shop, basically. But now I am live on both Facebook and Instagram marketplaces for shopping for merch, which is cool. And also BassadorWoodworking.com still exists, and everything there is still purchasable and good quality and as cheap as I can possibly make it without actually just losing money. I think I make like $1 on a t-shirt. So I'm not trying to make a whole bunch of money on any of this. I'm just trying to kind of, provide people the merch that they're asking for, and also fund a lot of the projects and stuff that I'm doing. Oh, it's really stuck on there. Come on. There it goes. What the fuck? Note to self, wipe off the threads before I do it. Some cool upcoming projects I have in the pipeline. I have a couple of more large cutting boards that I have to make for some family members. I want to build a little library type cabinet for a lot of I have hundreds of woodworking magazines and woodworking manuals and things like that, and right now they're just kind of piled over in a desk organizer across the room. I'm going to build kind of a library for them, and it's going to be a project that can be adaptable to one of those like free little public libraries that you can put out at the end of your street. I'm going to try to also maybe do one of those. I want to build another TARDIS at some point in the future. I've built a TARDIS before, so this won't be new to me, but it was kind of cool having a TARDIS in my yard, and I don't anymore, so I kind of want to do that. I might build the TARDIS that's the entry point to a new shed that I'm also going to be building, and that would be kind of cool, because, the TARDIS is bigger on the inside, and this one would open up into a really shitty shed, which is kind of funny, and I kind of want to do that now. Now we can do final assembly-ish for the time being. Definitely gonna need to did that. The shellac really made that not slide as well. Alright, I put a little bevel on that end. So the plan is I'll be able to take stop blocks, clamp them in place, and that's still more than tall enough for stop blocks, and it allows me to set spacing for holes and stuff like that way easier than having to set up an elaborate thing each time. This is all I need. I don't believe I will need anything more complicated than this. As I work through this, I might route out a square to put a replaceable, but I don't know if I'll need to. This seems more than adequate for what I'm going to be doing. Another cool upgrade I've made to this drill press since restoring it has been 2 iterations of a table lift. The first table lift that I built was just using a trailer jack, and it worked okay. It was still more work than I wanted to put into raising and lowering the table, but I think I've kind of nailed it with this last thing. I took an actuator from an reclining chair, and I just wired it up to a 12-volt power supply and have it tied into these up and down buttons, and it's great. It moves it without any issues. It's quick enough, like it's not super fast moving it up or down, but it's zero effort. And a lot of the times I don't even need to really lock it in place because the actuator is sturdy enough that if I'm just drilling a couple holes, I don't really worry about making sure the table and everything is locked. It just does it without an issue. But I did post a short about this on the YouTube channel, but figured it would be nice to highlight it in this drill press related video. If you want a more in-depth dive into like how I built this and all that, just leave a comment down below and I'm happy to do it. It's a very small and it was a pretty quick project, but I'm happy to go into more detail if people want me to. And for now, this drill press table is ready for action. I'm very happy with it. It's dead simple, and that's all it needs to be. You don't need a super complex kit-built drill press table. This is more than I have been using for the past 10 years of my woodworking. So this is all I need. This will be able to do anything I need to do. When it starts to wear out from holes being drilled in it, I'll probably route out a square to make replaceable inserts, but that's as complicated as I'm going to get with this thing. But thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with new projects as they are released. Until next time, thank you.